to Rivendell? Ah! Ah!
Oh, that's 3 now. That's 3 different names.
You have 3 names now?
Yeah. Yesterday he was Elron, like L. Ron Hubbard.
Oh, I get it. Okay. Yeah.
Elron. I probably called him the wrong name to his face. I don't care.
Alaron.
You don't care.
Elron.
That I believe.
Samuel's like, whatever. I don't have time to worry about it.
I need to finish a video today after this debate. So yeah, I got a lot of things to do.
A little bit busy, huh, bud?
A little bit.
A little bit.
Mute your phone.
Okay, I don't mean to be a jerk, but I'm Jess. I'm not sure you're coming through the microphone you think you are, because you sound a bit different than the last time we talked on the podcast.
Lies and calumny. I'm on my blue snowball.
Okay, then I'm the one I'm being a nitpicky jerk. I'm sorry.
Stop it. I'm doing the best I can.
You're doing amazing. Everyone's doing phenomenal.
A little bit. A little like little bit. I don't know how to describe it.
Is she lagging for anyone else?
Yep, lagging for me too. Jen, you're lagged.
Me?
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, better now.
It's amazing.
We're live now.
We're live? Okay, great. Can I get the link real quick?
Yeah, give me a second.
We're live.
We need to establish this is spoiler heavy. Like anytime we need to have like a spoiler thing in the chat even repeatedly, because this will be full spoilers 100%. You know.
Yeah.
Dark One turns out to be a housefly level spoilers.
Maureen was actually the dark one the whole time.
Yep.
It is
Elias
known.
was actually just a really hardcore furry.
It is
All
known.
right, chat. The link is to the YouTube is there.
Thank you. Oh, that's an interesting link. All right.
Holy.
All right.
Jen, are you gonna tweet it or you want me to tweet it?
I'm trying to minimize my backgrounds as much as possible so that I do not lag.
I got you,
So if
girl.
I have like one window open to minimize everything.
Not a problem. I got it. I just wanted to make sure we didn't double post.
Which, I mean, when have we started to worry about that?
Coming through.
I don't know. There are a lot of people presumably maybe watching this.
This
So
is new.
Wow,
This is
people are already in there. They got 22 people watching you guys.
Oh,
wonderful.
No.
Hey, everybody, you're here early, so things aren't rolling.
Can't tell if I should not watch chat as we're making the debate, because I don't want to see people like arguing with me in chat.
I'll keep
don't
an
think I'd
eye.
ever
I'll keep an eye on the chat and let you guys know if there's a point I want you to pay attention.
You're
to.
only gonna be able to pay attention to one person arguing with you, and that's gonna be me.
I think that'll be
Hey,
pretty
bye-bye.
easy.
All right, wonderful. Oh, we got good amount of people here.
That's right. Hopper just said Matt is starting CouchCon early. That is correct. I am on the CouchCon already.
You're coming to the debate comfy, and that's how you get an edge. That's how you
That's
take
right.
advantage.
That's right. That's right.
We starting here in 2 minutes? Yeah, okay. I have drank so much tea for my throat. I am pretty sure I'm like 80% tea at this point. Not even water, just tea.
Totally drinking tea also.
I will probably be doing my water drinking like I did yesterday.
You're not holding up to the White Tower legacy of just shots.
Not, I am coming in nicely today.
I'm sober as hell, y'all.
We are very polite and
Serious business.
serious.
Okay.
Serious.
Okay.
I'm sober, but I'm sore as hell.
You looked fantastic last night, though, I will say.
I'm out. You guys got 2 minutes. Good luck.
Everyone was
audio.
fantastic.
Dana thinks my audio is overblown. I don't
If you keep it that level, you're phenomenal. But I want to hear you like blow out your mic as you get passionate.
It's
I
not
will
his
try.
audio.
You gotta back
not-
up. You just gotta back off the mic.
know.
It's not his audio. It's just him.
You're wrong, Tom.
Matt is never not overblown.
All right.
But
So we have.
the trash talking has begun.
See, this is what I mean. I'm not sure I can sit here and watch chat while I'm trying to debate.
don't pay attention to the chat. That'll be my
I
concern.
don't even
for
have it
sure.
open. I don't even think I can get it open. This is good.
Yeah, I not. I'm not doing it.
I cannot. Mental health reasons.
Yeah, this is just sort of a blanket. Don't at me.
All right.
Just kidding.
I
You can at me.
think we're going to go ahead and get started here.
Okay.
We're at a solid 50 viewers. It's 2:59, and we should get this debate rolling. I think so. Yes, I'm trying to talk until it hits 3, and then I'll actually start. I want it to be right on the money. I thought I led this in better than I actually. Oh, it's 3. Okay, so welcome everybody to the Wheel of Time debate. Today, we have 2 teams who will be going head to head to see who is truly the dominant Wheel of Time debater. I don't know why I phrased it like that. And for the first team, we have Team Squirtle Squad, I believe is what we settled on, correct? And for that team, we have Jess and Tom. Jess from the White Tower podcast and Tom from JordanCon Infamy, as well as possibly the best Perrin cosplayer in the world. It's debatable, but I maintain it. And for team 2, we have the team. Wait, okay. How do I phrase it right? Someone give it to me here.
You changed their name to Varen's Assistants.
Varen's Assistants.
That's right. Okay,
because both of you are Browns, I believe.
Yes.
That's correct.
That's
all
true.
Right. Very good name. And Varen's Assistants. Again, we have Jen from the White Tower podcast. And then we have Matt from the Dusty Wheel. Today, he'll be dusting off that wheel and spinning it into high gear, trying to debate some people here. And I'm really excited. This is going to be quite the spicy debate. I'm hoping to ruin friendships today. Yeah. I want to ruin some friendships. If the White Tower podcast splits up by the end of this, I'm accomplished.
We're gonna do our darndest.
So we have 4 questions we hope to get to. If we only get to 3, that's okay, not the end of the world. The contestants, the teams have been made aware of the questions beforehand, but they do not know each other's answers. And I'm very excited to get into those with you all as well. And let's go ahead and pull them up here. A professional person would have had them up beforehand. I am not. Okay, so the first question that we'll be going over today is the biggest emotional gut punch in the entire series. The second question is the most underrated character in the Wheel of Time. The third is the hardest book to adapt to the screen. And the fourth is what scene should be changed, added, or removed from the series altogether for this adaptation. Spicy questions, a lot of hot takes will be coming through, and I'm excited to jump on into this. So, without any further ado, welcome guests, welcome viewers, and let's start this debate. I don't know why I'm talking like that. It's very obnoxious from the start.
Like a game show host. You're like Pat Sajak. I'm so into it.
I'm enthralled.
All right. So I've decided randomly which team shall be going first, and it shall be Team Squirtle Squad. So for the question of what is the biggest emotional gut punch in these series, I would like to see Jess respond first. Jess.
Okay. For us, the biggest emotional gut punch in the series is the scene in Knife of Dreams that starts with Loyal crying, Trollocs coming, up axes and clear the field, Trollocs coming. Followed by Rand reaching out for the one power and having control of it seized from him. Followed by just a shit ton of really amazing channeling and an extremely epic battle scene.
All right. And now switching over to the other team, Team Varen's Assistants, Apprentices, some A word. What is your grandest emotional gut punch?
I think Matt is better versed with this one. I'll cede the floor.
So I think the biggest emotional gut punch has to be the biggest setup that Robert Jordan has made. And that begins with the prologue. Like the prologue here talks about Lews Therin, right? You got Lews Therin and Shamael. He's killed his family, right? That we enter as fans into this scene. And not only that, then it's followed by meeting Rand al'Thor and his father. This really touching relationship where we then see shortly after that, Rand has this moment where he has to carry his father, because of Winter's Night all the way to Edmund's Field. We have this like he saves his father moment. So Robert Jordan, you can just say he's like raising his arm to punch us all in the gut, because then many, many books later, our moment is when Rand meets up with his father again. But now he has this moment where he doesn't trust him. He has this, he throws his father against the wall. he pretty much just about balefires his father and recognizes just in a couple key moments, right? He calls himself, or he sees the terror in his father's eyes, and he thinks of himself as a monster, and he hears like Lews Therin say, like, yeah, I've done this before. And that has to be just from the most personal story that exists in the Wheel of Time from the very beginning. I mean, you can just see Robert Jordan he just lifts us all up in the air just to drop us in this one moment when Rand almost does what Lews Therin did to his family and kills his father. And I beyond everything else that happens in the series, to me and to Jen, that has to be the biggest just punch in the gut for all fans.
Okay, great opening. Tom, why is their choice doo-doo and yours great?
Okay. So their choice, you see it coming. I mean, like, I feel like you see this scene coming since the Stone of Tear really is when Rand really starts to loot. Like, I feel like when he's trying to resurrect that little girl is really when he starts to like break, like his sanity starts to go. And you know that they're going to have to meet back up. Like, that's just something that's got to happen. And you know that it's not going to be good with his father. It's just, I saw this scene coming for a long time. And don't get me wrong, it was very emotional and it was very well written and it was great. But I saw it coming for a long time. And for us, there was the buildup with Lews Therin seizing control of the power. Since Lews Therin entered his mind, he's done nothing else but try to seize control of the one power. And Loyal and Elder Hammond, that scene for me is because they were going from such like a calm place talking just before this scene happens where the Trollocs are attacking in Lord Algarin's manor. We get a huge drop. I mean, things that Matt himself has theorized about in Theoryland for a long time is that the Ogier are aliens and stuff like that. But they revealed that they were going to leave the planet. Like in the paragraph just before Loyal is screaming, Trollocs coming, up axes, Trollocs are coming, he says, no matter what planet we go to, the shadow will follow us. So it's like, we go from this big reveal that's like, what? And then, oh my God, there's tens of thousands of Trollocs, and right on to Lews Therin taking control of the one power and doing these amazing, horrible things with the one power. And for me, like, I just got goosebumps head to toe again when I was talking about Elder Hammond.
So you think the predictability dulled the opposition's point there. Jen, why is he wrong?
I feel like the same argument that he uses against us, that you could see something coming, you could almost say that for the Ogier attacking as well, because you hear about, before this point in time, that the Ogier had their long handles and their long hafts, and that they have been called to get angry before, and it's been a terrifying sight, the reader has been told. So essentially the same argument can be made in either case. So, I mean, I could turn around and say the same exact thing in response. You don't know exactly at what point it's going to happen, but you know that eventually, because it's the last battle, an Ogier is probably going to be fighting in that. So I would say there's some foreshadowing there, as well as the fact that, and again, Rand's entire theme where he tries to gain back control from Lews Therin is just an ongoing, repeated situation in all 14 of the books. So even though it is a compelling argument and I do like it, I feel that just the scene, you'd think that of all people, Rand couldn't hurt his father like that, and that was just the biggest point. It seemed to be you thought Tam was safe, so that's good.
I'll open it to free debate. Whoever has a point they'd like to make, go right ahead.
I would like to say that when you're talking about the concept of a gut punch, it's something that it really kind of surprises you. It upsets your equilibrium. It's a shock in some way, right? And the scene that we had immediately before this, it was this sweet domestic scene where Loyal and Aerith were getting married. Like, happy honeymoon. Boom, here's 10,000 Trollocs. Go for it, kids. May you have a long and happy life together. So I feel like just the juxtaposition of those two things, the beginning of their life together, then suddenly thrown into jeopardy, potentially ending almost before it's begun. I feel like it's the tone switch that really kind of helps to drive that home.
And I'm sure people will correct me if I'm wrong, but I think the first time Aerith even uses the word husband for him, like after they're married, she says, "Don't die on me, husband, or I'll be mad at you," or something like that.
And
right
I
as
think
he's
it's a
running
reasonable
out
reaction.
the door. Yeah.
I think that it's important. I think that we both did pick scenes that included Rand in them.
Yeah.
And so I think I like that aspect that there are, but to me, gut punching is gut wrenching. I think there was an elation when we saw Rand do some of these things, but there's no elation when you were watching him break for the final time, right? You're in this moment where you're like, okay, cool, maybe this will be the thing. Tam will bring it up. Finally, Rand can move on. And instead, Tam almost just takes him over the top, and he does break in that moment. And so to me, it's so wrenching because you're feeling all of the feels for this relationship that you've wanted this entire time. Certainly, we've wanted this scene. It's the anticipation, the butterflies of this moment. It does not turn out the way anyone anticipates, and none of us. I didn't see Rand almost killing his father. Maybe I should have. I did not see him arrive at this moment, but I should have, in the sense that Robert Jordan set it up that way. And I love that it's a scene that just carries so much weight. So to me, the gut wrenching side of this, the gut punch has to be a big punch. And it's not that I don't think that doesn't have some aspect of that. It's just the weight of the punch that comes when Rand almost kills his father. It was coming from a long way away. It was coming from decades away, and it took us all out, I think. And seeing that moment of him going up then to the mountain afterwards to me is a different thing. But you're really left deflated. You don't know what Rand's going to do in this moment. And so as a reader, you're like, anything can happen. And so you're in such this moment, like you're down on the ground, like you've been knocked down, to me. So
for me, honestly, I didn't immediately go to like, I don't want to say sad, but like a sad scene like that where it's Rand almost killing his father. I went to like a scene that made me go, and then have to put the book down for a while, like because I needed to like recuperate. But if you want to get to like a very weighty part of our scene, at the end of it, Rand has to convince Lews Therin to let go of the one power because he's trying to kill himself again because he doesn't want to be alive. And he convinces him by saying, maybe you don't really want to die, because then if you really wanted to die, why did you stop that Myrddraal? But if you really want to die, don't worry, we'll die together in Tarmangaiden. Just wait. And that's
I just punched my gut right now.
Yeah. Like he's saying, don't worry, we'll still die together. We're still going to die. Just let me save a couple more people first. And
we're gonna Thelma and Louise this shit. Don't worry about it.
Yeah, we went from like happy Loyal and Aerith getting married to them talking about traveling to another planet to Trollocs attacking to, oh my God, this is amazing. Death Gates, Arrows of Fire, Blossoms of Fire, all the other Ashaman learning it. And then I want to kill myself. Don't worry, we get to kill ourselves soon. Just hold on a little longer, Lews Therin. Like that was. I mean, again, like she said, I just got punched just now. Again, I keep getting goosebumps talking about that scene.
It's like a series. It's like
it's a very
left jab, right hook, roundhouse kick to the face.
It's like, oh man, I think we're gonna recuperate. Oh God, why?
I like again the fact that you speak of the events immediately preceding and then afterwards. And as far as you brought up the fact that Aerith and Loyal got married right before the Trolloc invasion. Well, in that sense, I think it's also fair to say the mountaintop scene that happens where Rand turns into Messiah Rand happens literally directly after what happens with him and Tam, and that in itself is a climactic moment of Rand having a complete personality change. He went to therapy on the mount by himself, nice. And he talked to himself as God.
Just did a little self-help book reading.
He went on a mountaintop retreat to calm down.
He went on a quest
and think about his life choices. So if you can have that as an analogy, I think that's also applicable. And I think that, because it's funny you bring that up, because Tom and I actually, Matt and I were debating together, what's more impactful, the mountaintop scene or him almost killing his father.
Yeah.
And we had to decide between the two of us which of the two was actually what we were going to use for this debate. But since you brought that up, I would like to say your story, we were actually also considering events happening immediately afterwards too.
Yeah.
So I think it's kind of the thing that possibly saves the world.
All right.
I think
all
I
right.
saw somebody.
I'll allow one more rebuttal, and then we're going to bring round one to a close here.
Okay.
Jess, do you have any closing arguments that you can say in about 15, 30 seconds?
And this is where you see Jen's stubborn competitive streak, and it's beautiful. And that's all I have to say about that.
Okay. I'm going to go ahead and put my link in the chat here, guys. You can go ahead and go there and vote. I'm spamming it in now for who won the first round. Apparently, it's not clickable, so you'll have to copy and paste it. Sorry about that. This is the official vote here link. I am forbidding any contestants from going and voting for themselves. That is not allowed.
Can we
Don't do
talk?
that.
Can we talk while they're voting? Is that possible?
No,
I mean,
because
we
it's over. Round one is done. We have
We can't say
finished.
anything? Like, I can't
so many
quote.
feelings.
I can't read off a quote, just like a random quote that I have down while they're voting.
No. But I am going to go ahead and look at the results we have coming in here and give that a minute for people to come in and vote. Again, we have Tom and Jess, who are Team Skirtle Squad, and then we have Jen and Matt, who are Team Varen's apprentices or assistants or something.
Apprentices, assistants, apprentices, yeah, whatever. I like it.
Apprentices,
Baron's
assistants.
apprentice. I'll take apprentice.
Okay. So we have the voting link right there. People can go ahead and click that. Please vote. Helps us out here. Otherwise, I just have to be a dictator, and I don't want to be a dictator. I don't think
Yes, you
that's
do.
fun for anybody. Okay, I do, but we don't tell
What
them
if-
that.
What if we secretly like when you're a dictator?
Okay, and Tom went there. Tom went there.
There's
But
low-hanging fruit. I will pick it.
All right, I there's a bit of a delay, so I have to like stall a minute while the results come in.
I made Daniel blush.
Just saying, I could read some quotes.
Okay, Matt, I will
So-
give you permission.
He's
So
like,
Daniel,
I
can
have
you,
research.
Daniel,
I
can you
have
repost the link?
Yeah.
A lot of people on YouTube aren't seeing it.
Vote there. Again, it's not making the link clickable. I don't know how to avoid that. It just sucks.
You want to
But-
post it in the Zoom chat, and I'll post it for you.
Oh, thank you. That would be wonderful. I'm a
Yeah.
YouTuber. I know how to do these things.
You're something like a genius.
YouTuber is an ineffable mystery. So what is
Oh, the
everybody's
link isn't
favorite?
showing up. Wow,
I
that's
won't
weird.
read the quote until you tell me it's okay.
I'm getting spam blocked here by the JordanCon chat thing. That's why it's not showing up.
That's wonderful.
Oh, irony.
Right? Okay, well, there's the link. It's in there now. You can go vote. I appreciate you all dealing with my incompetence.
No, you're
And
fine.
oh, we are having some pretty hefty results now. We have already a decided winner, but I'm going to give it now, okay, if I hit refresh, it's a little more split. It's a little more split. What I like about this the most is the audience and I can both see the results and you all can't.
No, I can't.
Yeah, this is bugging me.
All right, I will say I'm going to give it,
my seat.
I'm going to give it about 10 more seconds and then call it. Sorry about
I mean-
the technical difficulties
I
there.
mean, I feel like the winner's obvious, but
Come on, Daniel. I need you to validate my feelings or absolutely crush me emotionally. So can you?
And
can we
the
get to it?
winners by let me refresh one last time, 69.57% to 30.43%. Jen and Matt take the first round.
Oh,
Ooh. Actually, no, you guys did a good job.
it was.
You
It was
guys
good.
did too. I
That's a good
actually
win.
really like your pick. So the-
Honestly, you did your pick, and I was like, oh,
I was a little bit worried when Jen was like,
Oh,
I do really like that. I was like, what is Jen
I actually do.
doing?
I should- I'm so sorry.
But then
I
you
like-
came, you brought it back to the mountain. I was like, Jen just killed it.
I
Jen
didn't
killed
mean
it.
to-
that's
but I
how she
was-
does it.
Sorry.
She went to the mountaintop. She went to the mountaintop.
Wonderful.
All
All right, so round one, I will say, goes to Team Varen's Apprentices.
Yay,
That clap
Varen.
made it official.
Thank you.
Now, The second question we have, I started with one that I feel like would be not super controversial, but this next one's going to bring in some hot opinions, and that is the most underrated character in the Wheel of Time. Jess, you went first last time, so now I'm going to tap Jen to do the opening arguments here because Matt did the opening arguments for her team before.
Okay.
Which works perfect because that's what we planned on.
This is all me all day long, so
Okay.
this is completely my choice. My choice is Huron. And here's why.
My boy.
My boy Huron, and here's why. There's one simple reason. It's pretty simple. At the very beginning, when they were going through the portal stones or were trying to find the Horn of Valir for the first time when they were leaving Feldara, and Huron was a sniffer. At that point, Rand was pretty low. He had just found out that he was really the Dragon Reborn. He wasn't really quite right with it. He was still not right in his head. Like, I'm still a country boy. I'm not a lord. And for the very first time in his life, Matt and oh my god, I forgot Perrin's name. Matt
The
and
wolf
Perrin.
one.
Matt and
Wolfie
Perrin.
boy is totally acceptable.
Matt and
It's a fancy
Perrin
bird boy.
abandoned him, right? They're like, "Ooh, look at you in your fancy shirt. You're a lord now. You're too good for us." And Rand had never in his life had a day without them, right? So the Loyal and Huron follow him into the portal stone, but Matt made a pretty good point that Loyal was there just because he wanted to write a book, and they were Taviran, and Loyal was just like brown studiousness about what Rand was. But Huron was the very first person that ever looked at Rand as a lord, and Rand knew he wasn't, but he actually accepted the burden of leadership for the very first time from Huron. And if Huron wasn't there, and if it was just Rand and Loyal and they had met Lanfear, I think there was a very good possibility, or at least a very higher, greater chance, she could have turned him without Rand needing to get Huron back to his family and home. Because at that point, Huron looks at him and says, "I have a wife and kids. You're going to help me, right, Lord Rand?" And Rand wants to say, no. But it's really, I mean, Huron helps obviously Rand a lot later, but the point I want to focus on is Huron was the person that actually made Rand say, "Okay, I gotta fight for someone else now, not just myself. I gotta be a lord. I gotta do this." And it was because of Huron and his unshakable loyalty to him when Matt and Perrin didn't even have that. So I'm gonna say Huron.
I will shift it on over to Tom to do your opening arguments.
That was a really good point. Sorry, I was in that.
Sorry.
That's not how you win
I
a
love
debate.
it. Honestly, I
I'm
love it.
sorry. I just gotta be honest. It might be the sweet tea talking. Anyway, all right. So we picked Rhianne Corley. She's the leader of the knitting circle. She's the eldest currently in Ebudar for the knitting circle when the gang goes there looking for the Bowl of Winds. She's fantastic. So quick backstory on her. She 400 and so years ago, we ended up finding she's like 415 or 413 or something like that in the time of the books. She goes to the White Tower as a novice. She spends 11 years as a novice, and during her test for accepted, when she comes out of the first ring, Terangriel, she panics and she can't control herself, and they kick her out of the tower. So when we were reading her backstory, this fearfulness that she has comes up a couple of times when I was actually in the real-time companion book. We were reading her backstory in there just to get some more stuff. And it seems like she might actually suffer from anxiety or panic attacks, because it cites in there a couple of times when fear grips her in a way that she can't explain. And that to us, or at least speaking as someone who has panic attacks, that's what it feels like. So she goes from being, spending 11 years in the White Tower, getting kicked out, going to Ebudar, and she ends up leading the entire group there. When the Shanshan attack, she's able to fight through any kind of fearfulness that she has, any kind of problems that she has, to get the group out. And then she's responsible for rehabilitating the Suldam and the Dame, or, I'm sorry, forgive my pronunciations of things. I don't have Robert Jordan's files. I didn't prep that much. But she recuperates them and starts to bring them back to being people again, and not, victimizers, and almost like they treat them like animals, and they break them down, you know, mentally. And she starts bringing them back before she's killed in. I think she's killed with Elaine when they're in Camelin later, like in when they get back after she ascends to the throne. But she does so much for the female channelers coming from the Shang-Chun.
Okay, and I need to pass it on over to Matt to tell us why their choice is doo-doo and yours is amazing.
First of all, I think that was one of the sections of the book. You know, that was one of the groups where I initially thought this would be an interesting one because I like that both of our teams, by the way, picked someone that was really in that kind of underrated. I hate it when people say underrated and then they pick like Gawain or something like that, you know, and you're like, come on, you know, like.
Okay, first of all, that's wrong.
He is rated correctly. He is rated 100%
That is
correctly.
correct rating.
I think in this regard, why the whole concept of this character and setting up kind of shop as she did and the work she did, I can't say that that's not, that's certainly, it's very impressive when you meet that character. You know, you're like, this is really cool. I don't know that I would tie it directly to like the overall success that, you know, Rand has, or that one of the Taviran or one, you know, I think it's underrated and it's cool and it's a good kind of call out, but it's not underrated in the sense of the biggest difference made. So that to me is like the difference made here is somewhat decent, but it's not significant. So that's the only thing I would say, because I think it is a really cool character, very much underrated. But when you think about underrated, you think the most underrated is the one that, you know, sneaks in and has the most subtly but impressive effect on the overall story. And that's where I think that maybe our answer takes it. But that's just my opinion.
Yeah, you know, not helping find the bowl of the winds and bring powerful female channelers.
I do need to pass it to Jess. I do need to pass it to Jess for why their opinion is duty, and you have the correct opinion.
Matt, you ignorant slut. I'm just kidding. I love you. Let's talk about Rianne Corley. Okay. So my girl gets booted out of the tower because she had a panic attack in the middle of her accepted test. And then she overcomes her mental illness to lead this rogue society of channelers. And she does so extremely effectively. She also helps Girl Squad, Elaine and Nynaeve, Girl Squad, find the Bowl of the Winds, which, I mean, I guess maybe you could argue that the fact that they were able to change the weather patterns to be not crap didn't have any impact on the overall outcome of the story, but I think you'd be wrong. I feel really passionate about this one, so I apologize in advance for myself.
Up the sass, it's great.
Get him.
So she not only helps them to find the Bowl of the Winds, but she also is an extremely strong channeler. She's a 14 level, same level of Sheriam. And she helps to, she's one of the 13 who actually uses the Bowl of the Winds to change, you know, the weather dominator. So, you know, there's that whole thing. And then she, then she helps with some shit going down with the sea folk. Then let's see, what else does she do? She frick. I had like this whole list. So, here's another thing that I feel probably had a pretty significant impact on the storyline as a whole. That being, she brought in 4 of the big families in Camelin who are backing Elaine's bid for the Lion Throne. She brought them into the fold. She basically was one of the people responsible for Elaine taking her rightful place. Which, you know, that seems like a pretty big deal to me, but, you know.
All right, from there, I'm going to open to free debate. Also give Tom brownie points for being a hype man.
So I want to point this out just from a debate perspective. What I feel like you just did, which was awesome, Jess, by the way, you just made the case for the fact that she's not underrated. She's actually, we all thought she was fantastic. We met her. She was a great channeler. She did amazing things. She took part in all these things. You're right. She's not underrated. I mean,
you are spewing a bunch of crap right now, man.
She's not underrated. I mean, I think
Who was the last person
everyone
that
heard
you
you and
heard?
they were like, hey, Rand's amazing. She's amazing. when people
I've been going.
hear Hurin, they don't think they're like, why Hurin? And as soon as
Totally.
Justin
No,
case for Hurin,
I totally agree with you, Matt. I've been to JordanCon for 13 years, and I've seen so many panels dedicated completely to Rhiann Corley, and I've heard
Who
her
was the
mentioned
last
hundreds of
person
times.
that you heard say shit about Rhiann Corley? I'd be
people.
honest.
Exactly zero people.
you easily found good reasons why she should be somebody
Rated
everyone
higher
loves.
than she is. Yeah, exactly.
But I'll point out this. Rand al'Thor, when he was fighting the Dark One, you know who he didn't care about? Rand. But he did say, dear faithful Hurin in his mind. He thought, dear faithful Hurin fell to a Trolloc attack as it struck for the top of the heights where Matt made a stand. Rand wept for Hurin, the man with so much faith in him, the man who would have followed him everywhere.
I'm sorry.
Oh, yes.
I mean,
Hurin,
but
the madly underrated, who is
maybe what you're
praised on
saying,
literally every episode of our podcast.
Maybe what you're saying is a character that ended up in only, I don't know, a couple books that randomly had interactions, but the Dragon Reborn called him out as the most underrated character. But no, maybe you're right.
We need to bring it down. We need to bring it down.
This is heated, and I love it.
One, thank you for telling us that the characters are only important if Rand validates them. And two, you know what doesn't happen to her?
Sorry, Matt, that was funny.
The Black Aja doesn't go out and try to kill him because he's so important. That's what they do to Rhiann. They did my girl dirty. They killed her in her sleep because she was so important to Elaine and the cause. They were like, we gotta go kill her. Go and kill her right now. You know what they don't do? Go kill Hurin. They were like, oh no, he can smell violence. That's so bad.
Exactly. She's not underrated. People wanted to kill her. Even people in the story didn't think that she was underrated. You're proving my point.
What is your definition?
Matt, you need to not
underrated?
yell. Your mic is just going nowhere with
These
it. So we need
facts
to.
that you're spewing.
When we say underrated, we're talking about characters who are underrated by readers.
Yeah.
People aren't talking about Rhiann Corley in spite of the fact that she did all this really amazing stuff and took part.
No matter how loud you scream.
Jen wants to say something, but
Jen,
she's not.
Jen is putting a hand up, so I'm going to give the floor to Jen, and then we will.
She's not a yeller like the rest of us.
If I may.
I'm Italian. I'm sorry.
Yes.
So later, Rand needs somebody that he can trust to have a parlay with the Borderlander army that is just hanging out, chilling, and the Southlands. And who's the only person that Rand al'Thor can trust as a messenger between him and all the Northern Kings? Hurin. Remember that lovely scene where he picks Hurin up with flows of air and is like, what's the creature that we fought in the Portal Stones? And only Hurin, if you are the real Hurin, would know this. And he's like, Grom, Grom. And he's like, okay, I know he can trust you. So it was because of Hurin that Rand was able to broker peace with the Borderlander army that came and camped outside of Farmatting later. Done.
Counterpoint.
Thank you.
I'll let Jess do her counterpoint.
Why did he pick Hurin? Because he didn't know Rhiann Corley.
Also, it's good to know that you both agree that we need Rand to...
Hold up. Silence. I will mute people. I don't know if I have that power, but I'm going to do it. Tom, you have a point. Then I'll let Matt do a closing, and then we'll go. These are closing arguments from Tom, then Matt.
Real fast. It's good to know at least both of you agree that you need Rand to validate your underrated character in order for them to do that. At least you guys agree on that. That's good as a team.
All right, Matt, what is your closing
argument? I won't yell so everyone can hear. My argument is that you brought up, I think, Jess, that it doesn't matter if the characters in the book think they're underrated, and I think that's the whole point. The whole point of this is underrated means that it's subtle, it's under the radar, it's something that people would never consider. And I think the fact that we brought up here and that people have to be wondering, like, oh yeah, wait a second, he is underrated, because they wouldn't have ever. I mean, you're right, Tom. We never talked about Rhiann at JordanCon. You know who we never ever would ever have a panel about? Hurin. We never would.
And you want to know what? You're wrong to not have Hurin. He said.
Oh,
did you?
He said those two.
You
people.
did?
We've had panels about her.
Oh, you're just making up facts at the end of the straw poll. That's like.
No, we did. We had panels on people that had not Wheel of Time special powers.
We cannot right now validate whether or not there have or have not been panels on Hurin, so I want to ask us not to let that sway. Tom, I'm not saying you're a liar. I am just saying that we can't let that sway. And I would like, I just posted the round 2 poll. If we could go and have that posted in the chat, I'd really appreciate it. This has been my favorite round of debate ever to host.
Sorry,
Matt, watching.
sorry for yelling. I apologize.
No, it was
for this
beautiful.
one.
No,
That
it
was-
wonderful.
I love it.
That was
added
amazing.
a
It
spicy
feeds-
level.
It feeds me.
I think the next time Matt and I meet in person, it's gonna be like a fist fight and then just hugs.
No, you just gotta hug
A
it
fist
out. Straight
fight
to
into
hugging it out.
hugs.
Straight to hugging it.
6 feet. 6 feet.
Yeah, we can go and get that poll thrown in
We
there.
need a social
I,
distance for our own safety.
I don't know which one. I don't know which one's gonna get it. I
I
honestly
just
can't
got
tell
sad. I just got sad because I realized how long is it going to be until we can hug each other again when we see each other.
I know.
It'd be a minute.
This is sad.
Uh-huh.
Okay. We're having the early results in. It's a
Uh-oh.
bit closer from what I'm seeing than the last round, but I'll give it a minute here. Any hindsight comments on the round that people?
I just didn't mean I didn't. My stupid mic. You know.
It's okay.
No,
it honestly
that-
made it funnier to me to just hear this like as you got more
Jen-
passion.
Jen's point of like of Hurin being like the reason why Rand like kind of accepted being a lord. That was a really good point.
Yeah,
My
it is.
favorite part was when Jen leaned in. She's like, "And this is what
And then-
happened."
We're seeing it tilt. I'm watching this slowly go from one side to the other
Oh yeah.
as I'm refreshing, so I need to let it keep going until it settles.
I would
it's
say
close.
you guys are right. Rhea and Carly is definitely underrated because I don't ever consider her. Now I feel as a
Jen, the
bad
voting is still
person.
happening.
Sorry.
You just said that she's underrated. She didn't say
No,
she's
but
more
I'm
underrated.
like, oh yeah, she did all those things. Like I'm like
She's-
silently sorry.
She's also definitely underrated by the people in the series because
yeah.
Stop trying to make new
90%
points. Stop trying to make new points.
You're right.
All right,
You're
all right.
right.
I
You're
will
right,
say
Matt.
this one is within. It's within like okay. So we have Tom and Jess at 46.67%, and we have Jen and Matt at 53.33%. So that is a win for Jen
Wow.
and Matt. I'm gonna say within a margin of error, and would people be okay with a draw for that round? Because I think
Yeah.
Yeah.
it was a good round all around, and
I would
think that's
accept a
within
draw.
margin of error.
I will accept a draw.
I'll accept
Absolutely.
nothing but victory.
I mean, I will accept a draw, but I will also remember that we won it. But I'll accept a draw.
Okay. Okay.
Oh man, we're gonna be hearing
You're all
that
wrong
for,
and you
for
suck.
every year. Remember that time that we won the second round of the debate on Dan's panel?
Ooh, it is now more in favor of Jen and Matt now that we have more time going by. All right.
Great. Yeah.
All right, so round 3. Round 3 is another question that I know is going to be controversial because of the atmosphere around the show right now. But I wanted to ask a question that I think would make people really try to break down and block out the books. You know, what is going to be the most difficult to bring to the screen? And so for question 3, we have, what is the hardest book from the Wheel of Time to adapt? And you cannot choose Memory of Light. That was the one stipulation. You must choose a book that is not Memory of Light. And so last time we had Matt open up, if I remember correctly, and this time we're going to toss it back over to Jess for the opening arguments here.
After considerable pondering on this one, Tom and I decided that rather than it being a specific book, it's any of the scenes that are going to be placed predominantly in the ways. Whereas a battle scene, there's precedent for large scale battles in fantasy movies, even, recently. There hasn't ever been anything like the ways. The sort of pervading fear, the oppressiveness of the dark, all of that stuff, that's going to be difficult to show rather than tell the way it was in the books.
Okay, so
trying
we needed
really
a specific
hard to
book, and I believe you did send me a specific book here as well.
Yeah, I did because, but
Okay.
that was before I got a chance to.
Oh, you're good. You're good. Can you throw the book out?
He didn't tell me that.
Yeah. I chose Shadow Rising over Eye of the World. I think those have the 2 longest ways in them, but I chose Shadow Rising for that.
Okay. And were there any other elements in Shadow Rising that made you choose that one specifically?
Well, I mean, the scene with Perrin when he finds out that his family's dead Marcus has his acting chops cut out for him to try to get that scene done correctly. It's my whole thing was really just on the ways and the focusing of that. There's so much happening in the ways and so much that you can't do. It's the hardest thing to do in a movie is get internal monologue and internal feelings on the characters. All has to be done with the cinematography, the sound mixing, and the acting, and that's going to be the hardest to do.
The note there really is we're largely looking at it from a technical perspective.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
that's fair. That's fair. So I'm going to toss it back on over. I believe Jen, was it your turn or was it Matt's?
I think it's mine.
Matt. All right. What is the book you chose and why?
Okay, so we this was tough. It's hard to pick a certain book, but actually Jen kind of pushed this one, which I really liked in the end, which was we think Towers of Midnight overall, just from a budget perspective and from a visual perspective, has to be the most difficult because it's where so much Teleron Riyadh occurs, right? Mm. It's you have Perrin seeing Rand, you have Egwene's prophetic dreams, you have the Perrin training, you have the Dream Spike, you have Slayer battles, you have Egwene in the White Tower. There's just so many of those scenes. And then to add on top of those, right? So you have to get Teleron Riyadh right, and not just kind of meeting up in Teleron Riyadh. You have to get battles in Teleron Riyadh right, which I think is extremely difficult. It could be like, they could they might ruin it by turning it into maybe some of the CGI that they did with Matrix, the second movie in the Matrix series. But it's tough to get the battles right that they can do, right? Add on top of that, you have Rand and Egwene meeting. You have Jesus Rand jumping around in many cities fighting the shadow. You have darkness enveloping the Dark Tower. And then to top this off, right? We didn't even mention these last two. You have Abienda, Nakomi, and Rodion, and the future of that. And then you have the Tower of Genji. I mean, there's so much outside of the real world that you have to get right. And Jen brought this up, and the Tower of Genji, just getting that and doing that justice to us is extremely difficult. So you figure all of the building up to this book and it having so many out of the real world experiences, we just think far and above. I actually believe it'll be harder than A Memory of Light. So.
Due to both Tom and Justin addressing the open here, I'm just going to say open debate. Go right ahead and shoot your shot.
I just want to point out, I love how we both chose like alternate, like the depiction of our large arguments or depiction of alternate dimensions within the books. Like you guys predominantly Teleron Riyadh, I was predominantly the Ways, which is fine.
Thank you. Beautifully said. I actually agree with that 100%. I was going to open it. Well, we actually agree to disagree, or actually, I don't know how you say that, or in this way. But yes.
Agree to agree, but both of those are going to be very hard.
It's crazy. Wow. Like I'm glad that we both had the same. Anything that is not in the real world, right? Yeah. I guess both of our instances are like that. That's interesting.
Okay. Well, so when you pick the Shadow Rising, which is the Shadow Rising pairs well with that. It has those kind of aspects in it.
Yeah, there's a lot of, for the Shadow Rising, there's a lot of change in scenery where we're going from the Isle, like from Tyr to the Isle Waste and all that, and then traveling from the Ways to the Two Rivers. So to get the tone of both of those places and everything going on would be tough. But specifically,
this is not a cooperative game.
Yeah,
this is a competitive game.
I'm waiting, Daniel, for my moment.
Specifically, between the two major points, Teleron Riyadh and the Ways, I feel like Teleron Riyadh, the way they describe it in the books, and specifically that book, we're not to the point where the major crazy things that can really be done there are being done. Where like, spoiler alert, Perrin catching balefire in his hand and like all that kind of crazy stuff. There's no one getting stuck. I don't think the scene where they get sucked into the nightmares happens. So it's really just an alternate version of the regular sets with minor details constantly shifting. So, like the paper is moved and the chair is pulled out, it's gone, it's there. People kind of blinking in and out of existence. I feel from a technical standpoint, I don't think it would be that hard to show the world of dreams. Maybe a light gray shade on everything, and then just slightly altering, fade in, fade out on papers and small objects around. Whereas the Ways, it sounds counterintuitive. The Ways are really like, when you think about it, they can get just the group of people standing on either a green screen floor, or they can make a stone, a faux stone floor so you can depict the platform, and then just darkness all around them with a single light. But to get that feeling that the characters get while they're in the Ways, and because most of it's done in their mind, to have that for the viewers is going to be like incredibly hard, whether they do it from an acting standpoint, if they do it on a green screen and not actually in darkness and stuff like that. At least when they do acting with like Trollocs or fight scenes, you have something to feed off of. This, they'll have nothing to feed off of. It'll fall all the way down to just their acting, abilities. And then sound mixing.
I agree with Tom. I definitely agree with Tom that setting up a sound stage that is completely dark, that no one can see, is going to be a really tough thing to adapt for TV.
Look at us.
Just there too.
Well, that was my second point, is if they do that, it's still not enough, because that's not what the ways were. It wasn't just darkness. It's the feeling that they get from that. And they always describe it that it's not regular darkness. The light should cast more light. It feels like the darkness was pressing in and trying to snuff the light out, whether it was whether they used the one power to create the lights, or if it was actual fire. The light never cast enough of light, and the darkness was pressing. They always say pressing in on them.
Yeah, for sure. I think that's going to be difficult.
Yeah, and then also,
I mean, and that's really you. I'm sorry.
No, you made this point before, so you should do it now.
Because what we have with the ways is we have a lot of description about like the way it looks. Relatively simple. You've got bridges, you've got platforms, right? But then you have this whole feeling of time is different there. And so you're starting out on a platform, and then you're going down a ramp, and you're like 99% sure that you're immediately underneath the platform you were just on, except there isn't anything supporting it. There's nothing there. How is it possible? How are we not falling? And then you look over the edge, and it isn't just dark. It isn't just black. It's ineffable. It's an ineffable void where you fall down it and you will never, ever, ever stop falling. And then you add into it the aspect of Masha and Shin, which is this nebulous, it's a wind that will eat you.
Yeah. They really need to do that right. With the whispering
challenge,
and the sounds.
Yeah, the whispering and the sound and the bones cracking and the chanting and what is that going to look like? It's a wind. It's sort of, okay, so what can you do to make it so that it doesn't look cheesy? Like when Sauron's eye looked like a cat eye and it was stupid. And
or a floating cloud with rain, like in cartoons. It has to be.
We're going to pass it over to Jen here real quick. Go ahead.
I see you, Jess. I concede your point, and I raise you.
Uh-oh.
The Tower of Genji and Matt trying to battle with snake fox people that aren't on the laws of physics. There's like smoke going in places that shouldn't, and you have these row nail file teeth fox crazy people that blink in and out, running, chasing, doing battle. Oh, by the way, Matt's eye has to get pulled out, and you gotta deal with that situation.
It's gonna be so gross
and madness and chittering noises. And
I honestly I thought you said shittery, and I was like,
no, chittering.
Oh, remember that?
I got you, baby. I got you now.
But everything, like, they're like running on the ceiling, and the laws of physics don't fit quite right. Like, how are you gonna? Again, it goes in the same sort of kind of like we both agreed on. Not in this real world, but that scene you're really building up to, because you got to save Moraine, and that's going to be like a huge moment. That has to be, something that they really expound upon, because you've been waiting. Oh my gosh, we're going to get Moraine free. We're going to do this. No one's ever left here alive. And you have to be the only people thinking you can find a way out of this, darting in and out of the worlds. And I remember Matt running by and looking at these sort of different hellscapes out the window, right? Mm-hmm. And every single window is different, and he's just rolling dice and going. And I just feel like, you walk in a haunted house and you hear screams and like different things coming off different rooms, and I think it's going to be incredibly creepy and this huge moment. And then you find Moraine chained up and you're running with her, and there's like these like things with axes. Oh man, it's gonna be
it's gonna be lit.
I'm gonna cut it off there and pass it over to Tom, and this will be Tom's closing argument, and then we'll go for votes.
Yeah.
Okay. So, and I completely agree with you. All of those scenes, I concede your point, but I raise you. Those scenes are all going to be difficult to do. I 100% agree with you. The makeup and stuff, but those are all visual thing. Like they are able to produce that makeup, and like, you know, they'll be able to do that. Whether they do it well or not, that's up to them. But that's the makeup artist. You know, that's what they do. For the ways, it has to be such a cohesive project between all aspects of filmmaking: cinematography, sound mixing, the acting, the directing, the editors in the editing room, post-production, on trying to make something that is literally nothing terrifying. You know what I mean? Like you could do a great job on makeup, especially with the fox people and the snake people. Like you could do that. That is doable because it's makeup and you have to physically do it. They have to make nothing and soundlessness terrifying as the ways are in the books. And I just feel like that's just going to be so much harder than literally any other aspect of the show.
Okay. Let's go ahead and let Matt go for about 5 seconds here, and that'll be the conclusion for that team as well.
5 seconds. We picked a book. They picked a location.
Okay. that was quick. We'll go ahead and post the voting in as well. Just throwing up the middle finger for her conclusion.
That's a crooked finger for you, bud. I'm just kidding. I love you.
All right. And while this voting is going on, we have the poll in there now. Go ahead and vote. I would like to say this next round I expect to be maybe the most heated, depending on what is chosen, because fans are divided, and I think there's differing opinions here as well on what should be added or removed to the Wheel of Time. I know I expected Pot Unfeigned to be an answer. I expected a lot of things, but what I got was, I think, 2 scenes that we actually might agree on what should be removed, but it's just a prioritization of which one's more egregious and needs to be removed to the greater extent. So that's going to be an interesting way to go. But before we jump into that, let's go ahead and check out the results for round 3. By the way, I'm not voting. I'm just going to the results page.
Yeah, right.
I'm not. I promise. As a whopping 80%, Jen and Matt take this lead. I would like to note right at the beginning, as soon as Matt finished talking, the chat just started going, "Mic drop, Matt win." So I feel like Matt set the tone. There was a decent pushback, but then Jen came in and hammered once again.
Our Genji for the win.
Yeah, Tower of Genji, which I say Genji, apparently.
Genji.
Okay, we were all sitting here. How do you say that? We were like, me and Matt were like, oh no, how do you say? We're gonna have to say.
If Sarah's watching, Sarah's got all of those recordings from the signings. It has to be there somewhere. Maybe Sarah.
We're like, oh no.
Ping Sarah on Twitter or something.
We're gonna have to talk about this, so we're gonna say it incorrectly.
All right, and for the final round, I am going to be asking you all what scene should be added, removed, or changed, and I'm going to go ahead and pass it to Jen for her opening argument. What scene? Oh, sorry, I need to go over the winner. Oh no, I said it, didn't I?
You said the winner.
Okay.
Yeah. It was like 80%.
I'm dyslexic. I'm going to use that excuse. It's gotten me out of many situations like this.
The Lisdexia is strong with you today.
Yes. Jen,
I never learned to read.
Jen, what scene from the Wheel of Time should be added, removed, or changed for the TV show?
I think you kind of buried the lead by saying we've all agreed on a remove, but this is a remove. It is just that very short, half-assed, that's exactly what it is, I'm sorry, subplot with the kind of romantic situation between Tom and Elaine when they're leaving Tanchico, and Nynaeve has to pull Elaine aside, and there's a whole scene where they go to town while the boys set camp, and Nynaeve's like, I thought you were into Rand, and Elaine's like, Rand's far away and I don't know who he's looking at, so I'm a grown woman now, and I don't know, Tom's kind of cute. And then Nynaeve's like, girl. And the way they were making eyes and flirting at each other on the wagon, like the whole way. And this is canon, by the way.
I agree that it's extremely icky.
I was reading this. It's in the Fires of Heaven, chapter 9. And Nynaeve's just like, stop. He's old enough to be your father twice over. Just stop. And then
stop flirting with your grandpa.
Elaine's response to that is, I'm as much as a woman as my mother is, which makes it even more gross considering what her mother did with Tom. So can we just please cut that out, the whole thing? It doesn't add to anything. That's it.
Okay. I'm gonna pass it on over. So you guys kind of shared the last round of the opener. I think which would one of you rather have a strong? I want to take this opening.
I mean, I can do it.
I'd like to take it.
All right,
Okay,
then you
go right ahead, Jess.
Well, actually, no, you take it, and then I'll expound at length
Yeah,
Okay.
then
because I
you
feel
can
real strong about it.
Yeah,
Okay.
I want you to you can get all the hammering in afterwards.
Okay.
I'll put it out there.
You line up the nail. I'll hammer it home. Let's
There
do
you
this.
go. It's teamwork.
This is going to cause the chat to probably go bonkers
Okay.
this round. I'm ready for it. Let's go.
So basically, a entire revamping on the whole relationship between Tylen and Matt. And
I knew you were going to say it.
The
Gotta go.
half-
I
it's
knew it.
see so now we have confirmation from Harriet and Robert Jordan that what they were trying to depict was that men can be victims of sexual harassment and or sexual like rape too, and but they do it poorly. And I don't know if they've ever recognized that publicly that this is done extremely poorly or not, but we felt that they should either go one way or the other with it. Show it being as bad as it needs to be, and giving and not being offensive and doing it justice by putting this poor tone of humor over it. But what we actually would really love to see is a depiction of a healthy BDSM relationship with someone who is who is not, I don't want to say teaching, but revealing to a young man maybe he enjoys being a sub or a bottom in the bedroom, and that's okay, and that doesn't make him any less of a insanely awesome, amazing battle leader, his prowess as a fighter, or a masculine or a man. He just finds out that maybe he enjoys being the bottom in a BDSM relationship. And if they bring someone on who is experienced and knowledgeable in healthy BDSM relationships, they can really start to maybe normalize that and take it away from the gross misrepresentation that is like 50 Shades of Grey and stuff like that.
Okay, and now I'm going to say, Matt, okay. How would you say this is your add or removal or change is better than their add, removal, or change?
That's a good question. So I think because we talked about Tylen and Matt briefly, like that was one of the questions we came to. And so, yeah, I think we went with this is clear. You said scene, and because we're a couple of kind of groupings of scenes, and I think that's why we kind of walked away from Tylen and Matt was you can't just take a scene away from this. You'd have to take almost like, it's not a plot, but it's a certain like piece of the character arc for a part of the books there. So I think we walked away from it, not because we don't agree that it's one that could certainly be done without, or as they proposed it changed. We just walked away from us. We kind of tried to narrow it down to like, what's just something they can immediately just get rid of? And it doesn't have any relevance to anything in the books. There's nothing, no fan could disagree. Well, not that no fan could disagree, right? Like, I guess I could make an argument, but the idea being that like, this is an easy out because it's just, it makes no real sense why it's in there. So I think for us, it was just like the clearest scene that probably had the least amount of controversy of pulling it out of the series when they adapt it. It has to be something that I've never heard of anyone like, this is my favorite part of the books. So for us, it's like, yeah, this one is clearly, as to how to adapt their scenes, that becomes the question. And so I think you get into the more nitty gritty there, and we can have like a whole panel on that aspect itself. So to me, it's clear that way.
I am going to call it technical that there is multiple scenes of Elaine flirting with Tom, and I assumed you are removing all of them. So it kind of works for both. So I kind of just accepted that because Elaine is grabbing his mustaches, batting her eyelashes for several instances. And so I feel like I'm just giving you both that leeway. Okay. So I'm going to call foul on that and open it up.
That's fair. That's fair. That's fair.
We are having so many censored chats, by the way, because of the words being used.
I'm sure.
All right. So this live stream might get flagged by YouTube. Just saying. Anyway, let's go ahead and open to free debate. Go right ahead.
Wait, don't I get to make my point?
Oh, sorry. Yes, counter. I apologize. Go right ahead, Jess.
So you already pointed out the whole, there are multiple scenes of Elaine and Tom creepily flirting. Yes. So that was going to be like my very first point. My second point is I think that in the grand scheme of things, if you're going to depict a person being traumatized, you need to do so in a way that is sensitive and respectful and accurate. And the way that the scenes between Tylan and Matt play out in the books are none of those things. I understand what they were going for, but they missed the mark 100% because there is absolutely nothing funny about sexual violence. And quite frankly, I think that it would be a huge risk for them to keep that theme in the show in any way for the reasons that I previously cited, because the mental gymnastics that a person who's been a victim of something like that are complex. They're hard to portray. And honestly, it doesn't have anything to do with the story. There are a billion different ways that Matt can be hanging out in that palace that have nothing to do with him being traumatized and violated. If he absolutely has to be there, he can just be chilling. He doesn't need to be attacked and have his clothes taken away and have food withheld from him because he won't bone down with the queen. That's just, it's excessive. It's unnecessary. It does nothing to further the plot. And it's never addressed again. It never comes back to him. There's never any kind of indication going forward that Matt has a problem with relationships with women after that. There's no indication that he has a problem being sexual in any way. It's like he walks away from this traumatic experience with absolutely no consequences whatsoever, other than the trauma and the weirdness that he's already got going on from the things that have already happened to him. It's, as a survivor, it's insulting, to be perfectly honest, because something like that will wreck you. So that, I think, that plot line, because it doesn't have anything to do to further the story, it's got to go completely. If they want to get like some crazy shit going, like Tom mentioned, I would love to see a respectful, well-informed representation of a safe, sane, consensual BDSM relationship between Tylan and Matt. And it would be fun to see, and it would be, I think, something that would be informative to see, as he mentioned, a man who likes to be the one who's chasing. He likes to be the one who's initiating and flirting and doing all of these things, and finding out that actually it's a lot of fun to cede control in that kind of situation. It cede control because the sub is always the one in control. But and just the knowledge that you can embrace that as part of your personality without it impugning any of your, quote unquote, more masculine attributes is something that I think would be really healthy, if it's done well, would be really healthy for people to see. And thus endeth the sermon.
All right, and I'll open it to full debate here. Feel right ahead to make counterpoints as well.
I feel, also just to add on to as you were saying, I just feel like also him coming to that type of a realization, not because I don't think they have the same kind of negative connotations on those types of relationships in the Rand world, in Randland or whatever, Wheel of Time world. That we see things as less masculine, but who knows how they see it. But at least him coming to the realization that he is enjoying this, which is so counter to the way he was raised or to the way that he's been acting, could make him emotionally grow as a character. So we could see that in his later interactions with other people, other women, other relationships. Also, it would just be like a really fun scene when him and Tuan get busy for the first time, to be like, hey, have you ever tried this, like trying to introduce her to the BDSM lifestyle too, to see if that's something that she would be interested in.
Hey, baby, I got these pink ribbons, you want to
can you just tie them on my wrist?
So we need to now flip it over to the other team. There's been too much speaking time on one side. So Jen, Matt, right. Go right ahead.
I'm not exactly sure what I'm supposed to say, because I'm supposed to say that I absolutely disagree, and I think that everything is great with keep the Tylan. Yes, no. I'm not going to say that. The only thing that I'm going to say is if they choose to keep this in the story, do exactly what Tom and Jess said, you can make it healthy. There's a lot of themes going on that is just problematic as far as relationships go, isn't there, in this book? Where do you draw the line? Is there anything the 100%? I mean, Perrin and Fael.
Your counter could be, you know, they're just saying advocating for changing it. Your counter could be, let's remove it altogether. That would be as long as you disprove their base premise, you succeed.
Well, I mean, sorry.
Maybe why yours is more important to remove than ours. I don't know. I'm trying to help.
I'm sorry. I'm bad at this. I'm gonna see it over to Matt. I apologize. I can't think of anything.
No, I would say that I think that's the question is, how would you then adapt that scene? So there is remove it completely. But that does change the aspect of what Jordan maybe was doing with the scene, whether or not he obviously, making this, because you're right, he does talk about this being kind of like, there is this, supposed to be this thread of humor or somehow attached to this, and that's going to somehow make it easier for people to understand. But you could absolutely take this down the road of assault, right? You could have a discussion of this, and this could affect that in ways that is real. So you certainly could make this an assault, and I think it would carry through and certainly to future relationships, and that could be a choice that they make. And I don't know that there's a better there. This is it's like, how do you change the scene between them to make it better? That's, it's like one of these like, I guess we could kind of go in and do this, and the writers will have to get there and decide it. But I think there is so much around here, and I'm not advocating in this one. This one's really tired. I don't.
This question went down paths that I don't think anyone was ready for.
But they're good discussions, and it's like one of these like, I feel like I want to just spend an hour and we can talk about like this particular subject. But yeah, I think how you break it down, I think, and I hate advocating for like, let's change this to straight up, violence, or whatever, not violent, but whatever the word is, maybe violent.
It's sexual violence.
So yeah. So like, let's change this to just be that, and make it more clear that's what this is.
Oh, I'm sorry. I just wanted to kind of agree with you on that I am skeptical that it's something that could be done well. But if it is done well, I am not eager to see somebody be traumatized. And I am not I wouldn't be eager to see a woman in that position. I'm not eager to see a man in that position. But if they're able to do it the way that it should have been done in the first place, I would probably be okay with it. But I mean, it's going to be tricky.
Well, Amazon,
we both picked. Yeah, this is.
Amazon brought on I forgot what they called it. I forgot like the title of this person, but it was like a love scene or a sexual
intimacy
coordinator. So maybe, like I said that before too, which was like, what they did in the books was they tried to split it down the middle with trying to make it where maybe it wasn't assault, and obviously it is, but they did it so poorly. Like I said earlier, it has to go one way or the other. Personally, I agree with Jess. I don't think it's a good idea to go in the other way, making it actual violence, because I think that would be way too much triggering for people. It would drive a lot of people away from the show. I mean, it could serve as a good educational moment for people to see what would really happen, but
I also think it's overdone. I don't know, 37% of a Game of Thrones was people getting raped.
Let's see a healthy, consensual, alternate relationship. And I say alternate meaning like not just the standard sexual man-woman relationship that you see in most stuff. Like, let's see an alternate type relationship where the woman is the dominant and the man is the sub, and he's learning. Like, she's in her position as the queen, being older than him is very.
I'm going to need to come in and say we're going about 10 minutes over now, guys. So I'm going to go ahead and
shit. I didn't even notice.
Bring in the conclusion. I'm sorry, Jen. Do you have something really quick?
She's leaning in. I think this is important.
No. It's a tick. The only thing I'd say is we do have a character like that already exists. She's this Kyrianan noble lady who men die under her lessons. If they survive, they come out better. She was mentioned already canon in the books. I'm sorry. This
You're
character
good.
does exist.
You're good. I do want to say, out of respect for the topics, I don't think voting on this one is necessarily a thing we should do. I just think this is let's go ahead and say that was a great conversation around
Sorry if I
something.
killed the mood.
No, you're totally
No,
fine.
it turned into like that. Yeah, it's interesting, like you said, any scene, and then we both kind of picked
Yeah,
those
both pick something that
relationship scene.
I want to say 100% people in chat are like, yeah, both things need to go. Like both,
Yay!
you guys both pick things where the chat is in agreement here. And I want to say thank you guys so much for coming on with the points.
Thank
that
you for
were
having us.
established.
This was so fun.
Yeah, absolutely. With the
you.
points that were given, Jin and Matt take the victory. I think that means that they now combine White Tower podcast and Dusty Wheel as their own thing. Jess, you're out.
Matt is
I'm sorry.
Matt is the Amerlin now.
The Brown Asha podcast.
The Brown Asha
Join us
podcast.
on the Watt Community Show. We'd love to have you.
Yeah,
Okay, cool.
absolutely. And the Watt Community Show will now also be absorbed into one mega conglomerate. I apologize. It was in the contract I sent. As well.
Don't threaten me with a good time.
Oh man, but thank you guys so much
Yeah,
for
thank
coming on.
you.
Thanks for the great
was
This
conversation.
was great.
We've had a ton of requests for a Dusty Wheel episode about these topics now, so you need to get on that now. It sounds like. And,
They just want to see me yell again. That's what they want to see me yell again on the second one.
That fiery
Rematch.
passion.
Rematch next year?
I mean, I'm down.
Ooh,
I'm down.
Yeah. I mean, if you guys want to lose again, that's totally cool. I'm fine with that.
Ooh.
If it's about
All
this
right.
topic, we'll have to make it a late
Oh.
night thing.
Yeah,
Yeah,
this
here.
definitely.
No, no,
I was
new-
thinking this veered into late night territory, and
new
I didn't plan it
questions.
to.
New question.
New questions.
All right. Thank you guys so much, and I'll go
Thank you.
ahead and let the live stream come to a close. I'm not in charge of